King Hrothung had two sons. Agnar, the oldest, was 10, and Gareth, the youngest, was 8. One day, they decided to go fishing in their farthest harbor, so they grabbed rods and trailing lines and went out. While out, a galeful wind came upon them and pushed them out to sea. Lost at sea for nights and days, they finally landed ashore in the middle of the night next to an old crafter and his wife. As they had traveled very far, they decided to winter there. And while there, the old woman fostered Agnar and the old man Garoth. When springtime came, the old tinker had found them a boat, and together they all brought the boat down to shore. After they did, the old man pulled Garoth aside and spoke with him privately. Shortly thereafter, a breeze came, and they set off. Finally, they made their way back to their father's harbor. Garoth was sitting in the front at the bow, and so, as they finally landed on the shores, he stepped off first. But instead of running up or pulling the boat in, he turned around and pushed it back out to sea, crying, "Go where the evil one wants you," and turned as his brother was pushed back out to sea. He set up into his father's fortress and was joyfully received, for his father, King Hrothung, had died over the winter. So he was made king and grew into a splendid man.
Frigg sat in Hlidskjalf and looked into all the 9 worlds. Odin said, "Do you see Agnar, your foster son? There, living in a cave, raising children with a giantess? And and Gerard, my foster son, is king and rules over the land." Frigg said, "He is so stingy with food that he tortures his guests if he thinks too many have come." "That is the greatest lie," says Odin, and they wager on the matter. Frigg sends her handmaid Fula to Geroth. She tells the king that he should beware lest a wizard who has come into the country should bewitch him, and said that he could know him by one thing, by one sign, that no dog was so fierce that it would leap on him. And that was the greatest slander, that Garod was not generous with food. However, he had that man arrested who no dog would attack. He was wearing a blue cloak and called himself Grimnir, and would say nothing more about himself even though he was asked. The king had him tortured to make him speak and set him between 2 fires, and he sat there for 8 nights.
And Geroth the king had a son who was 10 years old, and he was called Agnar, after Geroth's brother. Agnar went to Grimnir and gave him full horn to drink, saying that the king was acting wrongly to have him, an innocent man, tortured. Grimnir drank it up, and the fire had come so close that Grimnir's cloak burned, and he said,
"Hot you are, hurrying fire, and rather too fierce. Go away from me, flame. My fur cloak singes though I lift it up. My mantle burns before me. 8 nights I have sat here between the fires, and yet no one offered me food, except for Agnar alone, and he alone shall rule, the son of Geroth, the land of the Goths. Blessed shall you be, Agnar, since Odin bids you be blessed. For one drink, you shall never get a better reward. The land is sacred, which I see lying near the Aesir and elves. But in Thrúthheimr, Thor shall remain until the powers are torn asunder. Udale it is called, the place where Ul has made a hall for himself. Alfheim, the gods gave to Freyr in bygone days as a toothpick. There is a third home, which the cheerful powers roofed the rooms with silver. Valaskioth it is called, which the god designed for himself in bygone days. Sopfabek, the fourth is called, and there, cool waves resound over it. There, Odin and Saga drink every day, joyful from golden cups. Gladtime, or fifth, is called, and there, gold, bright, Valhall extends out widely. There, Odin chooses every day those dead in combat. It is very easy to recognize those who come to Odin to see how his halls are. There's spear shafts for rafters. The building is roofed with shields. There are mail coats on the benches. It is very easy to recognize for those who come to Odin to see how his halls are arranged. A wolf hangs west of the door, and an eagle hovers above. Gladtime, Threamheim, the sixth is called. There, Yahtzee, the all-powerful giant, lived, but now Skathi, the shining bride of the gods, resides in her father's ancient courts. Breidablik is the seventh, and there Balder lives, in that land which I know there to be the fewest runes of ill omen. Himinbjorg is the eighth, and there, they say, Hemdall rules his sanctuaries. There, the gods' glad watchman drinks good mead in the peaceful hall. Folkvanger is the ninth, and there, Froya fixes the allocation of seats in the hall. Half the slain she chooses every day. Half Odin owns. Glitnir is the 10th. It has golden buttresses and is likewise roofed with silver. There, Forseti lives most days and puts to sleep all quarrels. Noatun is the 11th, and there Njorthur, the prince of men, lacking in malice, rules a high timber temple. Brushwood grows in high grass and woods in Vithar's land. There, the father-son proclaims from his horse's back his keenness to avenge his father. Antrimnir has Sehrimnir boiled in Eldrimnir, the finest of flesh. But few know on what the Einherjar are nourished. Dairy and Freki he satiates, the glorious father of hosts trained in battle, but on wine alone does weapon magnificent Odin always live. Hunin and Munin fly over the vast stretching world. I fear for Hunin that he might not come back, and I tremble more for Munin. Thund roars, the great wolf's fish swims happily in the stream. The river's current seems too strong for the slaughter horse to wade. Valgrind it is called, standing on the plain, sacred before the sacred door. Ancient is that gate, but few know how it is closed up with a lock. 500 doors and 40, or I think there are, in Valhall. 800 Einherjar will pass through a single door when they march out to fight the wolf. 500 dioceses and 40, or so I think Bilskirnir has in all. Of all those halls which I know to be roofed, I know my son's is the greatest. Hathrum is the goat's name who stands on Father of Host Hall and browses on Leyraid's branches. She will fill a vat of shining mead. That liquor cannot ever diminish. Eikthree is the heart's name who stands on Father of Host Hall and browses on Leyraid's branches. And from his antlers there's dripping into Velgirnir. From thence all waters make their way. Siv in Viv Sikin and Aiken, Svol and Gunthro, Fjorb and Fimbulthul, Rin and Rindandi, Gipel and Gopal, Gomo and Gariomo. They flow around the gods' treasure hoard. Vin and Vin, Thol and Hol, Grath and Gunthorin. Vin is one's name, Vexvin's another, and a third, Theudnumo. Nit and Not, Non and Hron, Sild and Child, Silg and Ilg, Vid and Vond and Strog, Gjol and Lept. They fall close to men and flow down from here to hell. Kormt and Ormt and the two Kerlager, these Thor must wade every day when he goes to give judgments at Yggdrasil's ash. For the Aesir's bridge burns all with flames. The sacred waters boil. Glath and Golden, Glassy and Skidbraith, Silvertuft and Sinir, Gills and Hiddenhoofed, Goldtuft and Lightfoot. These horses the Aesir ride every day when they go to give judgments at Yggdrasil's ash. 3 roots there are that grow in 3 directions under Yggdrasil's ash. Under one lives Hel. Under the second, the Frost Giants. And under the third, humankind. Bratatusker is the squirrel's name who must scurry about on Yggdrasil's ash. The eagle's utterance he must bring from above to tell to Needhugger below. Therefore hearts too, that browse on its shoots, with its necks tilted back, Dain and Dvalin, Dunier and Dunathor. More serpents lie under Yggdrasil's ash than any numbskull fool could imagine. Gowan and Moen, they are Grafvitnir sons. Gravak and Graffoleth, Ofnir and Svafnir. I think these will forever erode the tree's branches. Yggdrasil's ash suffers more agony than men know. For a heart nibbles it from above, but at its side it's decaying. A Needhog rends it beneath. Wrist and Mist I wish would bear a horn to me. Skegel and Skogel, Hild and Frud, Hluck and Herrifertor, Gol, Radgrid and Rangrid and Reganleaf. They bear Earl to the Einherjar. Arvid and Osflid, the Slender One, must pull the sun up from here. And under their shoulders, the Aesir have installed cooling iron. Svalin he's called. He stands before the sun, a shield for the shining goddess. Mountains and sea, I know, would burn up if he fell away from there. Skoll is a wolf's name, who must pursue the heaven's bright bride. Another is Hati. He is Rotvitnir's son, who must run before heaven's bright bride. Ul's protection and that of all the gods he has. The first one to seize the flames. For the worlds lie open for the sons of the gods when the kettles are lifted off. From Ymir's flesh, the earth was made. And from his blood, the sea. Mountains from his bones. Trees from his hair. And from his skull, the sky. And from his eyelashes, the cheerful gods made Midgardr for men's sons. And from his brains, the hard temporal clouds were all created. In bygone days, Ivaldi's sons went to create Skidbladnir, the finest of ships for Shining Freyr, Njord's beneficent son. Yggdrasil's ash is the most preeminent of trees. As is Skidblatnir of ships, Odin of Aesir, Sleipnir of steeds, Bragi of poets, Bilrost of bridges, Harbrook of hawks, Garm of dogs, and Brimir of swords. The wished for protection will now awaken. To all the Aesir, it will become known on Aegir's benches at Aegir's feast. I was called Mask. I was called Wanderer, General and Helmwearer, Known and Third, Thund and Und, Hellblind and High, Steady and Sveeple and Sandgettel, Warmary, Knieko, Weak-eyed, Flame-eyed, Bolverk, Fjolnir, Mask and Masked One, Glapsvid and Muchwise. Grimnir, they called me at Geralf's, and Yok at Asmund's, and then Kjolar when I pulled the sledge. Thoror at the assembly, Vidur and battle, Oski and Omni, Equal High and Biflindi, Gondlir and Harbarth amongst the gods. Svidur and Svidrir, they called me at Sokmamir's. And I tricked the old giant then, when I became of Midvintnir's famous son, the Soul Slayer. Drunk are you, Geralf? You've drunk too much. You're bereft of my support, that of all the Einherjar and of Odin's favor. Much I told you, but little you remember. Friends have played you false. I see my friend's sword, lying all splattered with his blood. The terrible one will now take the weapon-weary, slaughtered man, for I know your life is over. The Disir are against you. Now you may see Odin. Draw near to me if you can. Odin, I am called now. Eager, they called me before. Thunder, they called me before that. Vok and Skifling, Hropatir and Yok, Gout and Yok amongst the gods. Ofnir and Svofnir, I think these stem from me alone.
But there, Geralt the king sat with the sword in his lap, half drawn from the sheath. But when he heard that it was Odin who had come there, he stood up and intended to pull Odin away from the fire. The sword slipped from his hand, hilt downwards. The king lost his footing and plunged forwards. And the sword pierced him through, and he was killed. And Odin disappeared. And Agnar was then king for a long time afterwards. Give it up for our musicians one more time.
That was absolutely incredible. One best band to ever blown away.
Really appreciate it.
Man, just everything about that. What I do know is